Okay, so let me ask you something. Have you ever left a meeting feeling that you didn't actually leave? Thinking, okay, I think I understood, but I'm not completely sure. So you nodded, you said, yes, I understand, right, got it. And then when the meeting ended, you replayed the whole script in your head, you reread the notes, you tried to reconstruct everything that was actually decided. And instead of spending 1 hour in the meeting, you spent three. So, if that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Because the problem is not your English. If it was, why would you be there in the first place? The problem is what happens in the moment when you don't fully understand something and you freeze instead of voicing your concerns. Welcome to The Real Talk, a podcast that belongs to the real English universe, where we will talk about all things except perfect English and institute English. We will also talk about fluency and mindset related topics. So before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the notifications button so you receive a notification every time I upload a video. Okay, so let's get started. So I was thinking about the other day after I had a call with a woman who wanted to join Real English. Basically, I will give you some context. She works in an international company and she has regular meetings with 5 native English speakers. Her biggest challenge was not the vocabulary and grammar. The real problem was that she never asked questions during the meeting. So she would stay quiet and say things like, yes, I understood, and then spend long hours before the meeting and after the meeting trying to transcribe everything, double checking decisions, and preparing responses that she never ever used. So instead of a meeting lasting 1 hour, the mental load was like 3 hours or the whole day. Now, what actually caught my attention, and is the reason why I'm making this video, is that the next week I had a call with one of my students. We were in class, of course, and this student works in the same company, and he told me that he faces the same challenges. But this doesn't only happen at work. He told me that this also happens when he needs to have difficult conversations with people that he loves, such as friends, family, partner. And that's when suddenly it clicked. This isn't just an English problem, it's a communication and an identity problem. And to be honest, I had this problem too in the past. I felt I was too ashamed to ask questions, to voice my concerns, to ask for repetition, to ask for clarification when I didn't understand something. It happened to me in meetings in English because I felt I was going to look stupid. And I felt I couldn't say that with my loved ones because I was going to look inferior. I was going to look weaker. So at work, what is at stake is money or performance, but in personal relationships, it's our face. And the risk is even bigger, being misunderstood or rejected or perceived as difficult, cold, weaker, or not good enough. It's terrible. It's a lot of mental work. So we stay quiet, we overthink, we replay conversations. I should have said this. Next time I'm going to say that, and I don't say it. And nothing happens. It's all here in our minds. So this is exactly what we are going to talk about today and what we are going to address right now. So as you can see, there's a common belief that is underneath it all. If I speak English, I should understand everything. If I ask questions, I will sound weak. If I slow people down, I will be a burden. Now, this belief is incredibly expensive, not because of the money per se, but because of the time we spend and the energy we spend overthinking. Now, this belief is the worst of them all. We have this strong belief that clarity equals silence. If I stay silent, it's because you were clear, and to me, everything was clear. But no, clarity comes from structure. And this is where the concept of frameworks kicks in. If you come from a tech or an IT background, you will probably know what I'm talking about, and this will immediately make sense. In IT, and I had to Google this, okay, a framework is a predefined structure. Let me read it right. It's a predefined structure, and it gives developers the tools, the conventions, and a way to build things faster without starting from zero every time. So basically, you don't reinvent code every time you have to write it. You rely on a structure so you can move forward with confidence. Now, in the world of communication, this works exactly the same way. It's not about repeating phrases. It's not about scripts that we need to memorize, because it's not about robotic phrases. But they are structures that you can use in real time so you don't freeze, you don't overthink, and you don't stay silent every time that things get uncomfortable. Frameworks don't limit you. They should give you freedom. Now, there's a huge difference between being heard and making an impact, because being heard is just speaking. Now, impact comes from structure and clarity. Now, frameworks are not just scattered words. They are grouped into ideas and clear messages drive decisions. Now, I was thinking about which framework we could use to ask for repetition, ask for clarification, or ask someone to slow down what they are saying. And the framework that we came up with ChatGPT was called Clarity. I know, it sounds cliche, but you can use this structure really. I thought about it and it's like very good. And you can use this structure every time you don't fully understand something, but you don't want to sound like insecure or unprepared, like, what? No, no, no. So, this framework called Clarity helps you understand what to do first, what to ask, and how you take place in the conversation. So, let me walk you through it. The Clarity framework, okay? C is for catching the gap. L is for locating the issue. A is for asking with intention. R is for rephrasing to confirm. I is to invite correction. T is for taking the floor. And Y means your time matters. Now, let's talk about each of these steps. So, the first one is catching the gap. Make sure that you notice what you don't understand. Also, make sure that you have a notebook so that you can write whatever it was, like a word, a deadline, a detail, anything. You may say something like, hey, there's one thing I'd like to clarify. Or there are a couple of things that I didn't quite get. Now you have to locate the issue and you have to be specific. A word, a decision, a deadline, whose responsibility is going to be XYZ. And you may say something like, when you mention the deadline, locating the issue basically provides context to what is going to be asked next on. Now you have to ask with intention. Okay, what is it that you want to know? Repetition, clarification, you want to slow down the pace. So, what do you mean by? Or could you repeat that last part? Now's the time to rephrase to confirm. And this is not about sounding stupid. No, no, no. It's repeating because you're processing the idea, not because you're confused. And you may say something like, okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you mean, and that's it. Now you will invite correction. And this keeps the tone collaborative, not just me repeating phrases and repeating what you said, and that's it. Because again, it's not about repetition. It's about having a structure of what was being said and how this fits into the structure of a clear message. So you may start saying something like, let me know if I understood it correctly, or let me know if I'm missing something. Remember, T is for taking the floor. So after they have clarified, after they have corrected, or whatever, you have to take the floor and say something. Like, in that case, I would suggest that's it, simple, but you say something about it. It means that you have processed and you have understood the information. And why? This is the most important. Your time matters. You don't have to say this. You just have to embody this. You have to remember that your time matters. You're not supposed to stay 3 hours after the meeting thinking and overthinking what was said, if you understood correctly, if you are going to take the next step correctly or not. No, no, no. It means that you ask questions because clarity saves time and builds trust. If you stay silent, you're not going to build any trust with your client, your stakeholders, the rest of the people in the meeting. No, you're just going to be perceived as weak. Now, I will give you an example so you can see clarity in action. So, imagine you're in a meeting with native speakers and they are discussing timelines and next steps. Everything is moving quite fast because they are all native speakers. Without a framework, you nod, you say, yes, I understand, and you try to figure it out later. But with clarity, it sounds like this. Hey, there's one last thing I'd like to clarify. When you mention the deadline for the report, do you mean the first draft or the final version? So if I'm understanding correctly, the draft is due next Friday and the final version next week. Let me know if I'm missing something. Well, in that case, I can deliver the draft by Friday and get feedback before moving forward. Nothing about this sounds insecure. You're not asking because you're lost. You're asking because you're being responsible. Now, this is why phrases like this work so well. You're not saying what, because what means I'm lost? Like, what? No, no, it means what do you mean by, and you repeat exactly the words or whatever you heard. Or you say something like, let me see if I understood correctly. Could you slow down a bit, please? When you say something like, could you slow down a bit, please? What do you mean by? It means, Or the other person perceives that they have spoken quite fast and now they have to repeat information. So you're giving, again, the chance to clarify what they have said. Now, I have prepared a document with a clarity communication framework with ideas on what you can say every time that you don't understand, or you want people to repeat what they have said, or you're asking for clarification, or you're asking them to slow down. You don't have to do this alone. You just comment clarity and I will send them to you. Now's the time for the homework. If there's one thing I would like you to take from this video is this. Asking questions doesn't make you less competent. It means you care, and it means you can speak out loud, you can think out loud. So the next time you have a difficult conversation with a loved one, it may be in Spanish, make sure that you ask questions. You ask for clarification. You ask them to slow down what they say. Try to become more aware of the fact that you ask questions, that you are not perceived as someone who just doesn't care and just gets it all, because that's not assertive communication. Assertive communication is about being present, understanding, and understanding comes from asking questions, from clarity. And the next time you're in a meeting, don't wait to process everything alone afterwards, because you're not alone in this. You're in a meeting for a reason, because you're about to have a dialogue with people. And start practicing how to use this structure in this moment. Maybe you can do it alone with the script from the meeting you had from the previous time. And the next time you start practicing this structure. So, this is the end of the episode. If you made it this far, well, thank you so much for watching. Make sure that you leave a comment and tell me what you like best, if this was useful, or if you didn't like it, because I'm really interested in getting to know your opinion. Make sure that you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!